So recently you've seen these two mics on my channel, the Fifine K688 and the Shure SM7dB. And many of you have asked about a mic comparison between the two, and so I thought I'd go ahead and do that in this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let me just start by saying these are two very different microphones that actually produce a fairly similar sound. And to demonstrate that, as we talk about the features and the similarities and differences between these two mics, I'll be bouncing back and forth between mic A and mic B. Now, I'm not going to tell you which one is which until closer to the end of the video, but as we go, as we talk, and you hear the mic switches, I'd be really interested to know which one sounds the best to you. So I may pause halfway through and just invite you to, in the comments below, let me know which one sounds the best, mic A or mic B. In one of my last videos, I talked about how to choose the right mic for you and for your podcast. And the three qualifiers that I gave in that video were the cost, the convenience, and the quality of the mic. And the sound quality we already talked about. You're going to be the judge of that. Between mic A, mic B, whichever one you prefer, you'll be the judge of the sound quality. I want to start with the cost of the mics because the cost is drastically different between these two. You may be familiar with the Shure SM7B, which is a $400 microphone. But this is the Shure SM7dB. And the difference between those two is with the Shure SM7B, you need an additional preamp, a cloud lifter, or something similar to give it enough gain to pick up the sound of your voice. The difference between that and the SM7dB is the SM7dB has that cloud lifter or that preamp built into the casing of the microphone. So it'll cost you an extra $100 because that cost is wrapped up in the mic and not in an inline preamp that you also have to purchase with it. The Fifine K688 retails for $79.99. So $500, $80. Big difference between the two mics. Now, let's talk about convenience. When I talk about convenience in the last video, I talked about how you're going to use it, where you're going to use it, but let's focus on connectivity. As you can see, the Shure SM7dB is an XLR microphone, which means you're going to need a USB interface to get it into your computer or something like the Zoom H6 that you can record directly into using an SD card or a micro SD card, which is what I'm using now for this recording. The Fifine K688, on the other hand, you can do the same thing because of the XLR connectivity, but it also has the capability of being a USB microphone that can plug directly into your computer. So it's fairly convenient. You can use it wherever you happen to be. If you have a computer, you don't need an interface or an additional piece of equipment. You can plug it directly in. Now, to do that, you also have the ability with the Fifine K688 to adjust your gain on the microphone itself and the volume on your headphones. You can monitor directly from this microphone, and it has a mute button right on top that you can, if you're using it USB style, you can use that mute button if you need to cough or speak to somebody off camera or whatever you happen to need to do. Whereas the SM7dB, you're going to need to do that through your interface. So connectivity is a big difference between these two. XLR only, XLR, and USB. How are we doing? Mic A, mic B, you've listened a little bit so far in this video. Which one right now stands out the most to you? Do you like mic A? Do you like mic B? So let's talk about the build quality of these microphones, and let's start with the Fifine K688. Now, this is a pretty lightweight microphone, and by that I mean there's not a lot of metal to it. It's a lot of plastic. It's got a nice shock mount here, but it has plastic mounting hardware with the metal insert, threaded metal insert that's going to go onto whatever mounting device that you have, whether it's a boom arm like the one I have here or a mic stand on your table or something else. So it does have a metal insert thread on it, but the majority of the hardware on this microphone is plastic. The Shure SM7dB, on the other hand, is a heavyweight microphone that's built out of a lot of solid, heavy materials. But again, the sound quality, if that's what matters the most, which I would argue that it does, you may not need the heavyweight materials of the Shure SM7B. If you can get a similar sound out of a lightweight, less expensive microphone like the Fifine K688. Let's talk about some of the similarities between these two mics. And let's start with the form factor, because obviously they're built in a similar fashion, not identical, but a similar fashion. And if you had picked up the black version of the Fifine K688, it would look a little bit more like the Shure SM7B or the Shure SM7dB that we're talking about here in this video. Now this one has the shock mount around the outside, where the Shure SM7dB has an internal shock mount built into the mic itself. So they both do a similar, fulfill a similar function. They're just built differently on the outside for the form and the style versus inside that highlights just the mic itself. They're both front address microphones, which means you speak directly into the end of the microphone, and the pickup pattern is the same. They're both dynamic cardioid microphones. So there's just as many similarities between these mics as there are differences. And really what it boils down to potentially is the quality of the sound and the cost of the microphone, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes, because there's some additional features that I think might help one outweigh the other. But which one do you prefer? Mic A, Mic B. You answered a little bit earlier in the video. I'm curious if you've changed your mind as you've gone, because right now I'm going to tell you which mic is which. Drum roll. Mic A is the Shure SM7dB that you've been hearing in this video, which obviously means Mic B is the Fifine K688. Could you tell much of a difference between the two? I'm curious, now that you are aware, now that you know, which mic, sound quality wise, do you prefer? Let me share some of my favorite features of each microphone that would help me decide, if I were you, which mic to purchase. Let's start with the Fifine K688, because the cost is not a feature of the microphone, but it's one of the major factors that I would consider when purchasing a mic. If I'm limited on budget, I'm gonna have to go with an $80 mic that sounds similar to this $500 mic. That's a no-brainer, right? But I also like that it's multifunctional, meaning that it has XLR and USB functionality and capability. So if I'm not running through a USB interface and I need to go right into my computer, this gives me that functionality without any additional equipment. I can pull this mic out of the box, plug in the USB cable, and I'm good to go. So cost and multi-connectivity capability with the Fifine K688 are two of my favorite features with that microphone. Now, the mic that you've been hearing, the Shure SM7dB, Mic A that I just revealed, there are some premium features that really, if budget wasn't a factor, would make me lean towards this one. And that's two things. Number one, the noise factor, the self noise, the hand noise of this microphone. As I'm tapping it, as I'm talking, you're not probably hearing much of that noise. At least I'm not hearing it much in my headphones. It's present, but it's not loud. It's not overpowering, and it's not distracting. So this gives me the ability, because I move around a lot when I talk and I talk with my hands, to move the mic wherever I happen to be without risking the noise that this mic is going to produce as I do that. So I have to sit a little bit more stationary with this mic, whereas this one, it's okay to hold it and move around. The other feature that I love about this mic that I didn't even know it existed until I borrowed this one and I started testing it out is the fact that not only can you move it, it just stays in place. It's a simple thing. It might seem like it's not even necessary, but to me, who moves the mic, I'm worried this one, if I do that too much, you're going to hear it. But if I move it too much, it's going to unscrew actually, and it's going to become loose and flop and fall the other way. So my two favorite features of this microphone are two features that I didn't know existed until I got my hands on it and then I started testing it out. So who would I recommend these mics to? Well, let's start with the Shure SM7dB. I would recommend this to a podcaster where the budget isn't an issue, because not only is this a $500 microphone, you're also going to have to buy additional equipment, something like a Zoom recorder or a Rodecaster Pro that you can record into. You can plug your XLR cable into it and then use it as USB interface as well. So even with this microphone, you're going to need to purchase some additional equipment. So if budget's not an issue and you like the sound quality and you like the simple little features like I do, the Shure SM7dB is probably your go-to mic. But for podcasters who are just getting started and you're just kind of testing the waters to see if this is something you want to do, or for podcasters on a budget, and I understand they're not always one and the same, I recommend the Fifine K688. It's an affordable microphone with a similar quality of sound to the SM7dB, and you don't need any additional equipment because you can run the USB directly into your computer and you're good to go. That'll do it for this video. I'm curious, if you had to make a decision today based on whatever your decision is based on, which mic would you go with? The Shure SM7dB or the Fifine K688? Let me know that in the comments below and your reasoning for that decision, and I'll see you in the next video.